time for another tag video, and I was tagged in this by Bethany from Beautifully Bookish Bethany, and it's a really cool tag. In this tag, you get to learn about different creators I like, different books, and it even has tag challenges. So normally at the end of a tag video, I just like tag whoever, and this one like has challenges, which were challenging. So I don't know, I'm excited. Let's get into it. I think it's based on a book that I haven't read. So just like know that. I'll link the original creator down below who probably goes into more depth about its creation, but I'm just here to answer the questions, and per usual, I'm breaking rules. I don't have one answer per question, and I'm not going to make myself, so let's do it. 1. Your favorite book set in or with reference to Eastern Europe or Asia. This was really hard. I have lots of books that I love in both of these very large regions. Like, goodness. The first one I'll talk about, because I just don't talk about it that much, because it's been years since I've read it, but it still sticks with me, and I still really love it, and that's Pachinko. This is a generational historical fiction, takes place primarily in Japan, but you start in Korea, and you are going to follow most of the 20th century's time period of these two countries following a particular family. And the writing is stunning. That's like the thing that spoke to me most when I read this, because it's long. For historical fiction, I think it's almost a tome, if not larger than 500 pages. And I was swept away by it. I could not stop reading it. I was so invested in this family and what happened through the years. And so when it starts, you're not necessarily in either of the world wars yet. But then, of course, those also take a point. But for me, this was my first introduction to the complexities of this region and the different things that were happening politically and invasion-wise here, because I never knew Japan invaded Korea. They did, and the consequences of that, and what prejudice there is between Koreans and Japanese people in Japan. I learned a lot, but also it was just stunning. It was gorgeous. Another one that's fantasy, so it's not actually, referencing anything, but I do think it takes inspiration from maybe Japan specifically, but I'll just say Asian-inspired fantasy. The Sword of Kaigen. It's one of my favorite fantasy books ever. I laughed, I cried, fist pumped. That's the definition of a 5-star experience for me. Did I go through the emotional roller coaster that I want to go through when I consume a story? Yes. Okay. For those who don't know, The Sword of Kaigen is one of the few books that hit me so hard that I had to stop reading it for a day. That does not happen to me very much anymore. That rarely happens to me. I can list on maybe one hand the number of times books have done that to me. And The Sword of Kaigen did that. I love it. Keep in mind, I love a good info dump. So I think that's one of the things people don't always like about it, is the info dumping world building style. I don't know. That book is perfection to me. Everything Alan says is wrong. The CW stuff is great. Anyways. And then one for more Eastern European, Baron the Nightingale. This takes place it's pre-Russia. So it's 14th century Russia area, but we're not quite there yet. So it's really fascinating. It's historical fantasy. It's based off historical events, but with a folklore magic twist to it. I have a whole series review for that, and it's getting to be wintertime, so highly recommend picking it up. It is perfect for snuggling up with a blanket. These books are short, and they definitely have Eastern European influences that I really enjoyed reading. 2, a booktuber from a country other than your own that you regularly watch. I got a few, and I tried to go to different continents. So first one I'll talk about is Lena from Sufficiently Advanced Lena. She is in Spain, and I love her channel. She's where I get a lot of books that are really not on my radar to put on my TBR, because she reads a lot of indie books. She reads darker fantasy than me, and she reads a lot of sci-fi. So definitely go check her out. She is great for adult SFF, especially if you want indie recommendations. Judith from Dead Good Book Reviews. She's in the UK. One of my best bookish friends. It's hard for me to watch review videos because I don't usually want that type of content. I love making reviews, but I'm not someone who likes watching reviews. It's a weird thing, but I watch every single one of her reviews because I just love spending time with her. I love spending time with Judith. She's fantastic. I also have my friend Sarah. She's in Canada and Newfoundland. Sarah reads. She's fantastic. She's starting to explore sci-fi, which makes me really excited. And I love her videos. She's just got such a lovely presence. And then a newer one that I started following because I was looking for reviews on Shuggie Bane. That's really why I found her channel. And this is Peta from Comfy Cozy Up. She's in Jamaica. And she is great for literary fiction. She just put up a video about the Booker shortlist, which, if you don't know, is a really big prize in literary fiction, and her thoughts on what books made it and which ones were her favorites, which ones she didn't like so much. I'm really excited for her reaction to the winner, which might be announced today. It might be announced on November 3rd, which is when I'm filming this. Regardless, I love her channel. She's also always involved with the Caribbean-based readathons. Fantastic channels. I could go on, but these are just like some of the highlights of my subscription feed. 3, a book you DNF'd before 80 pages. I don't DNF often. I don't actually think I should be DNFing more either. Like, there are very few books that I finish and I'm like, man, I wish I DNF'd it. So I feel like I'm okay. But one that I did DNF early was Artemis. I don't know, man. I was 50 pages in and I was not getting along with the protagonist. I don't remember what her name is. Maybe Jazz. I liked the moon base. It takes place on a moon. And then I realized that its plot was going to be kind of heisty. And if I'm going to like a heist, I have to love the characters. And I didn't like Jazz. So I asked my friend who had finished it, like, if it gets better and if it would be worth my time. And he thought it was very eh. And so I DNF'd it at 50 pages. I don't have any regrets. I read The Martian and I love The Martian primarily because I liked the main character. And one day I will pick up Project Hail Mary because everyone keeps telling me to read it. But I haven't yet. I don't know why. I don't have a reason, but I just haven't yet. 4, a book you settled for and picked up at an airport or anywhere and ended up pleasantly surprised with. This was really hard. I don't think I've ever purchased a book at an airport. But I did think of one time. So I have my whole life traveled across upstate New York to get to New England because my grandfather lived in New England and we lived in Ohio. So that's like a 13-hour drive and you go back and forth. And for some reason, I guess I didn't have my own book or whatever, but my stepdad was driving and we took turns driving. And on his Kindle was The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. Now, I know what you're thinking. This is one of his most beloved works. How is this settling? Well, at the time, people hadn't been talking about this book. I don't even think it had a physical copy out yet. It was just like a thing you got on Kindle Unlimited. And my stepdad happened to have it. And I had been okay with his works. Like, at that point, I'd read American Gods and Neverwhere. I think I had read Stardust, and I was okay. Like, he was fine for me. But I needed something to do, and it looked short, so I kind of was like, fine, I'll read this. And I read it in one sitting, mostly because I was in a car and had nowhere to go, but I was captivated. I was completely immersed in this story in a way that I hadn't been in any of his works before. And I'm excited because I'm going to reread it again soon. But that story was just so gripping and creepy. And so that one surprised me because up to that point, all my Neil Gaiman experiences have been like, I don't know why I'm here or what we're doing, but I guess it's okay. So that's the one I have for this question. 5, a book with a perfectionist character, or if that doesn't resonate, describe in which ways you are a perfectionist when it comes to any of your bookish habits. Well, I did find a character, Steris, Mistborn Era 2. I guess maybe she's not a perfectionist, but she is very prepared, which I guess I think about for perfectionist. And what's a perfectionist habit of mine? I mean, if I can, I will buy books so that they match. And sometimes it's pretty ridiculous, but if I have the disposable income, I'll do that. So, like, for example, I now have replaced my copy of the Shadowed Sun to match the Killing Moon, because before I had the UK version of the Shadowed Sun and the US of the Killing Moon, and that bothered me. My copy of Jade City is different from the one I originally bought because this has the shiny gloss, so it can match Jade War, because when those don't match on my shelves, that kind of bothered me. So I guess I'm a perfectionist in terms of if I am able getting the same types of covers for my books and the best quality that I can. I also try and order them on my shelves by height. So I guess that's the part of me. In terms of actually reading though, I don't think I have perfectionist habits. I think it's just in my book collecting. 6, your favorite books set in or linked to Africa. I got a couple for this. First of all, we'll start with a sci-fi fantasy that I love and no one talks about, and that's The Prey of Gods by Nikki Drayden. This takes place in South Africa, and I freaking love it. It's contemporary, near future-ish. There are gods that are around. There is an AI revolution. There's this new drug on the market that kind of makes people see things in weird ways. And all of our characters are extremely gray. To me, it gripped me from the beginning. It was the book during a week where it was a February week, so it wasn't fantastic. But I was excited about each day because I got to read this book. It's good. Okay, I mean, I'm a Nikki Drayden fangirl, but I really, really liked it, and it's set in South Africa. Another one set in Africa that's a sci-fi it's set in Ghana, and this is Remote Control by Nnedi Okorafor. This is my favorite by her. I really liked it, and also the character travels a lot, so you get a really good like sense of the landscape and the space. It's also near future, so it's not like set in the now, but it's set in the near future in Ghana. And then for a historical fiction, right now I'm reading The Shadow King, which takes place in Ethiopia. So got a couple parts of Africa, since it's a large continent, like ignoring a map, which we all know the maps are really messed up. Once in Dungeons and Dragons night with my friends, we decided to see how messed up Perceptions was. So I was like, well, let's look at the latitudes of Africa as a continent. It is so big when you look at the latitudes. And also, at the same time, we were looking at Alaska. Alaska is as long as the continental United States. Yeah. Sorry, a tangent, but anyways, those are my 3 books that are set in Africa. 7, judging by only the first 80 pages, the best book you have read, and then by the last 80 pages. This was really hard. I wrote some things down. We will find out. So for the first 80 pages, I decided to go with a book that I thought would be a 5-star book based off the first 80 pages, and I was right. And so the first one for that is Revenant Gun, the 3rd book in Machineries of Empire by Yoon Ha Lee. I picked this up December of last year, and when I picked it up, I'm like, guys, I think this is going to be a 5-star read. I think that was within the first 2 chapters, which is like 20 or 40 pages in that book. It had everything I had wanted in that series and more. So good. I think another one is basically any N.K. Jemisin book, but I'll pick specifically the 5th season. That was gripping. That was a start. I think I knew right then from like the first chapter that I'm like, this is special. This is going to be fantastic. One that didn't end up being a 5-star read, but I loved the beginning, is Escaping Exodus by Nikki Drayden. So another Nikki Drayden. I really like her books. The beginning of it was so cool. It introduced me to a world that I found so compelling with really interesting culture, and then some of my favorite like romance tropes. I was just like, yes. So yes. But the ending wasn't quite as good. So then I guess switching to endings, books with 80 pages. I mean, I have to say Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson. It's one of my favorite books of all time. When I first read Words of Radiance, I binged the last 200 pages in like one sitting in the morning on a Saturday. I'm the type of person who like, I wake up, I eat, I have a shower. That's part of my like wake up routine. I didn't do that. I didn't eat, I didn't shower. I just woke up and finished Words of Radiance. It was so good. I could say that about a lot of Sanderson books, but that's going to be the one for this. And did I have other ones? A Memory Called Empire. Yeah, A Memory Called Empire had a fantastic ending. Like, it has a slight lull at the 3/4 mark, but then once you get over that, it's just like, it goes, and you can't put it down, and it hurts, and you're like, what? So fantastic. And then another one I would say is Jade City by Fonda Lee. Perfectly paced. So good. So gripping. Twists and turns you don't see coming. Great things. So those are just like a few. 8, a book you love that prominently features an ethnic or local cuisine. I realized while trying to answer this question that I don't remember food when I read books, or maybe I just don't read a lot of books with food, but one that must be mentioned is the Davabad trilogy. The food looks so good, and I'm actually going to link Jessie at the Bookish Mom's video where she makes a food inspired by that book that I really want to try and make and eat. It's set primarily in Egypt and the Middle East, but the food that gets brought up the most is Egyptian food, specifically street food. Yeah. And the food ends up like playing kind of like a minor sweet role by the end of the series. That's not really a spoiler, but if you've read the series, you know what I'm talking about. Did I have another one written down? This one's weird, but this is Machineries of Empire, so 9 Fox Gambit. I've already mentioned Revenant Gun. The author is Korean Texan, so that fusion of food is very prevalent in this space opera. But it's very noticeable, and actually there's a character who really loves to eat and loves to snack. So food is a non-trivial part of a scene description in this series, and it's typically Korean and Texan in its food descriptions, which is a wonderful food fusion. 9, the last travel or other nonfiction book you looked at or read featuring a city other than your own. So for this one, it was hard because I feel like I read nonfictions about like ideas or institutions, but I have read one recently about a country, and that's the 100 Years War on Palestine. So I guess not specifically a city, although it does talk about Jerusalem a fair bit. I read that recently. It really showed me how much I don't know about anything that happens in that region, so I need to read more, but I've gotten some recommendations that I'm going to be looking into. Yeah, I mean, if you're wanting to look more from a non-Western media perspective, I definitely would pick it up. It's from the perspective of a Palestinian. And I do think, like, although every nonfiction book is biased because every nonfiction book has a thesis and it's trying to prove its thesis. That's like, I mean, to me as an academic, that's how every work I ever get is. When I read a published work by another person in science, I'm like, well, you really want to prove this, so of course you will interpret your results this way. So it's written by a Palestinian who has been involved in a lot of the movements of trying to come to a truce or trying to resolve the tension in this region. But I do think it's actually written sometimes in such a factual way that I didn't actually feel emotionally connected to the events, so take that as you will. But that's one that I've read recently on a specific region, country of the world. 10, any book you have read set in either Central or South America. I've got a few for this. Well, the first one I've read recently, The Inheritance of Orquídea Divina, takes place in Ecuador for a fair portion of it. It was great. If you are like me in the United States who are kind of not as connected to your roots as you would like to be, it's really going to hit a certain itch for you if you're part of the diaspora. But I also think it's just like, I don't know. It was really beautiful. I don't think it's going to work for everyone. I've actually seen that it doesn't work for everyone. But if you have that connection and if you like the characters, it is a wonderful, atmospheric, magical realism fantasy book. I really liked a lot of it. And honestly, the more time I have away from it, the more I remember all the things I loved and the less I think about the ending that was just like, for me. So that's one. And then, of course, we've got Certain Dark Things by Silvia Moreno Garcia. It takes place in Mexico City, so we got Central America. And if you have any recommendations for me for sci-fi or fantasy that takes place in Central or South America, tell me. I really love adult fiction more than young adult or middle grade, but I try and read it all. And speaking of that, I'm putting Each of Us a Desert on here because that's what I talk about all the time. Technically, I don't think it takes place on our Earth or it's so far future. What are continents? But it's pretty influenced by Central American culture, I'm pretty sure. And I just want more people to read it. It's so good. Like, it's so good. 11, your favorite book referencing another world, universe, or dimension. This was hard. I mean, The Cosmere is my favorite multiverse. So we have that, The Cosmere by Brandon Sanderson. I'm not going to go into that. It's just, imagine the Marvel universe, but it's a fantasy book series. And there you go. It's all of his adult fantasy works are in the Cosmere, and it's so cool, and it's based off science, and I love it. And then my favorite multi-dimensional book is The Space Between Worlds. It is not Dark Matter. I have a review on Dark Matter with Ryan. We do not love Dark Matter. So it is The Space Between Worlds. That's our favorite, well, my favorite multi-dimensional book, especially because it happens to be so character-driven. You think it's going to be action-packed, but it's not. It's very character-driven in a way that I really loved. 12, your dream read to read in any dream location, real or fictional, of your choosing. Man, I don't know. I just want to, like, not have responsibilities for, like, 3 days and have Elantris with me. And, like, don't have my phone. So let's put me in New Hampshire with where my grandma lives. On top of that mountain, it's snowing outside, the fire's crackling, and I have no responsibilities. And I just get to sit there with my blanket, reading my book. And when I'm not reading my book, I can, play games with my mom. Yeah, that's what I want. And it could happen. I should coordinate that. And now we have the tag challenges. So the first challenge is tag a channel that has 80 or fewer subscribers. And I looked, and even some of my friends with smaller channels are in the hundreds. So the alternative is then I must tag a channel with more than 80,000 subscribers. But first, I want to just shout out some of my friends who do have smaller subscriber counts that I love watching their videos. We got Knox Reads, who was in the live stream with me with Reads with Rachel to talk about her body and other parties. That's actually how we met. And I love her, so should definitely check her stuff out. We've got Annalisa Eli. I think that's how I say your last name. If I'm incorrect, please correct me. She has a lovely channel. I love her wrap-ups. She does like mid-month and end-of-the-month wrap-ups. She does tag videos. I love how she describes books. It really works for me. The way she reviews books makes me know if I'm going to like it or not pretty much instantly. And I just love her commitment to like dressing up and decorating for the holidays. Just like so calming, so cozy. And then R from This Cubed, who is the creator of the Hades book tag. So that was a fantastic tag, and I love them. They're a great friend. So all of these people are like, I think, sub 500 subscribers. So you should definitely check them out. And I guess the big channel I'll tag Murphy. Mainly because Murphy is the reason I started my BookTube channel. I'm sure I'm not the only one for that to be the case, but she was the first booktuber I found. I watched her channel straight for like 4 months before being like, oh, I could do this. I think she had like a video on how she started her channel. And then I'm like, oh, I guess I'll do it. And I still watch her channel a bunch. I love her commitment to doing reviews for videos. I think that's great. Like, make the content you want to make. I'm just always pro that for anyone who's a content creator. You gotta love what you do. The next tag is tag a channel you like that has reviewed any of Vern's novels, so this tag is based off a book, or any novels I mentioned in this tag. And I decided to go with Tori from Tori Morrow. We read a lot of the same stuff. We don't always agree on everything, but we read a lot of the same stuff. And I mentioned Jade City, and she just finished Jade War and loved it, and actually talked about it a bunch in a current recent reads video. So she's the one I'm going to mention, and you should for sure be following. And the last tag challenge is tag the 8 channels you watched the most in the last 80 days. So I don't know if this is completely true. I don't have like an analytics for this, but I for sure have watched these people a bunch in the last couple weeks. So it's probably true for 80 days. But we've got Jess Owens, creator of Book Community, but also has her nonfiction book club and does other standard BookTube stuff with her adorable dog Nigel. Honestly, if you're following me, you already know who Jess Owens is. But I'm also going to tag Brittany from Books with Brittany because I definitely watch all of her videos. We are also bookish friends. Alan from the Library of Alexandria. Judith from Dead Good Book Reviews that I've already mentioned previously. Also Sarah from Sarah Reads. Jashana. I love Jashana's video. She just posted a video on Davabad, the trilogy, because she just finished it. And if you want to hear some spicy takes on Dara, go check that out. And then Leslie from The Nerdy Narrative, and Laura from A Book Circus. Those are the ones, and you should subscribe to all of them, and they will all be linked down below. Thanks, Bethany, for tagging me in this. This was really fun, because I like how you get to talk about, like, content creators and books in a tag and all in one place. It was really nice. Let me know any answers you have for these tags, especially if you have recommendations for any of them, because I for sure love reading books that are set in different parts of the world. So feel free to recommend those. If you want to talk in more detail, there's always the Discord that's linked down below. But otherwise, if you want to leave an emoji, leave a world emoji. And like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.